Welcome one, welcome all, back to another week of the SPL. We're in week 4 now, Anatoly, and this is where things start to get serious because all these teams have played each other before, and now it's time to see if their adjustments have been made.
Here come the rematches in Europe specifically as we kick it off in Tuesday, and the first one is going to be a big doozy.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but we're exclusively live on Mixer as always, and you guys at home, if you don't know about Mixer, there's plenty of things going on that brings special things from Mixer, co-streaming interactivity, faster than light, which I think is one of my favorites, and also the ability to do it very quickly on the native broadcast.
Can you imagine if we allowed fans to use the controllers to kind of control some of the players?
Some of them might actually play better then. Oh, hashtag savage, hashtag Hindu man, you know, the same old, same
old.
It's
not Hondu man today.
Not Hondu right now. But for you guys at home, if you don't know much about the SPL this year, this is how the split looks this year. 6 weeks of competition, followed by double round robin format, best of 3s, and NA is always on a Wednesday to Friday, but we're all about today, which is Tuesday versus Thursday.
And for the schedule, the first matchup is going to be a doozy, like I mentioned before. We got NRG against Dignitas to kick things off.
Yeah, you guys at home, though, if you do want to actually go in and support your team, you can do that with the badges. You purchase the badge, and you can represent your team. It'll even help show up in-game if more members of your team support them. And you can actually buy those badges to support it. Some of the proceeds do go towards the prize pools.
Yeah, I have the rival badge at home. What do you have rocking there?
All of them.
I
don't rock any one specific. I kind of change it up quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
We're in EU today, I should say. I don't know why I'm talking about NA already. We're in EU today, and in EU, we get to have a nice little look at some of the teams over in Europe. Standings, it should be up on your screen. There we go.
So far, looking pretty, rather, as rival and NRG sitting at the top, 4-1. But so is Team Dignitas at 4-1. They got this little weird trifecta because NRG only lost to rival, Dignitas lost to NRG, whereas rival losing to Dignitas. So this little three-way thing that they got going in Europe, they are really up there.
But that won't change today, Tolly, with Dig versus Energy as the opening match. That's going to be an interesting one to see how these two teams play. Last week, we did see them take each other on, and it was a rough situation there for the Dignitas boys. They took their first defeat.
That's true, losing to NRG. You know, not unheard of. They definitely lost to them also during the group playing the gauntlet, but look at this here. Afterwards is going to be also Obey versus SK, and then to wrap things up on Thursday, we're going to have Rival versus SK, Energy against Mouse, and Rival against Mouse. In this specific set, Energy versus Team Dignitas, it's usually going to be a battle of the junglers. We got QvoFred on one side and then adapting on the other. There's a lot of assassins that we're going to be seeing probably because the main focus for picks and bans will be the mid-mages.
Well, the one thing to really watch out for here today is definitely how well Dignitas played. They had trials and tribulations to get here, but how's the season been looking for them?
They're still kicking it. They've been kicking it since last year. I know they missed Worlds, and I still don't care. This team is hitting the gas. I could just name the 5 members, and that'd be the end of this. Every single member on this team is great. They need to work together as a unit when the going gets tough, and that's when they'll be unbeatable.
And Sam's got a good point there, Tolly. When they do work together, they do look unbeatable. However, against Energy last week, different story.
It definitely was a different story, and I'm expecting more of this kind of contention around the mid-mage focus. I think a lot of Energy's success lies a lot on emilitoo and the way he's been able to get his Nuwa, to get his Soul or Chronos, and I'm thinking that in the future here for this set, that Nuwa probably won't be available for him. I think Dignitas are either going to ban that away or look to pick it for themselves on Zyrhoes' case.
I'm talking more about Dignitas as well. We're going to see quite a bit out of QvoFred in the jungle today. He'll be the focus player that we keep an eye on today throughout. Looking to keep the aggression going. Played Nemesis both times last week, Tolly. Didn't come up huge for the team, but Nemesis very strong right now.
It's very true, and sometimes he even gets it after the secondary ban phase, which is very unheard of in Season 5 when junglers really dictate the pacing of the game. And QvoFred is definitely one of those players. Once you give them a lead, he's just going to run wild with it.
And at the moment, QvoFred sat at 4th in the region on kills overall. 55 kills for QvoFred coming into this week. His top opponent in Energy, Adapting, is the leader of kills across all regions at 63 kills right now.
Just not fearful whatsoever. Him and the rest of his squad always showing up when it matters most.
And let's have a look at how Energy have been doing this year.
The results are in. If you wanted to know who won the support trade, answer NRG. EmilZy has fitted with the 4 guys in this squad absolutely perfectly. A little bit of growing pains, but we don't see it if we look at the standings. NRG right now are working on all cylinders. They look like the NRG from once upon a time.
And Tully, I think what Tom was saying there is pretty much accurate. EmilZy at the moment is top in the region of assists. 9.55 assists a game shows that he's really getting involved and being the backbone for this team.
And not only is he being the backbone, but he's also breathing that fresh air that NRG really needed, being in together with the roster that they had since the beginning of Season 2. And this man right here, definitely a huge beneficiary factor from the trade. The dual lane partner, emilitoo, playing a lot of Nuwa thus far, showing us all that he also has that Soul and Chronos behind him.
And this emilitoo will be following him along today, just like we'll be following QvoFred in the jungle from NRG's point of view. So we get to see some unconventional, yet turning more conventional picks in the dual lane for NRG. A lot of mages starting to be run now, less of the hunters, totally.
And that's kind of also due to the fact that EmilZy rather, the way he's able to play the Terra, helps out emilitoo in the dual lane, transition safely from that early laning phase. Nuwa is definitely not so safe before level 5, but emilZy makes sure that his partner is going to get through it.
Important one here, NRG versus Dignitas. Last week, NRG did 2-0 Dignitas, giving Dignitas their first defeat of the season. We'll find out if NRG can do it again, make it back-to-back this week, as Chronos will be the first ban against Dignitas. Interesting.
Okay, so I'm expecting both Chronos and Soul to probably get stripped off the table. There's going to be a plethora of junglers available.
And if you remember, NRG did let Nemesis through both games against Dignitas last time round. However, this time, NRG are going to be the first pick. So will they look for this Nemesis themselves?
It's very possible, but they definitely prefer Camazotz every now and then as well, alongside the Janus, which is available. NRG could look for that. It's going to be a thought.
Take into account this is the first week that Achilles has been available for picks and bans for the Pro League play, and immediately the very first game of the week, totally, Achilles is taken out.
That's very true. I mean, Achilles just provides a lot to the table, but so does Thoth and Serqet. A lot of mobility with this Janus pick. I feel like Dignitas getting what they want here.
Yeah, a lot of mobility just in those first 2 picks for Dignitas. That's their mid and jungler secured and locked in. NRG giving Yammyn that Thoth. Although that Thoth could go with the dual lane, I guess, for emilitoo, but it's not something I expect.
We haven't really seen it here, at least in the SPL. It's definitely manageable if you get the right protections around you, and supporting cast, definitely something that emilitoo has. With this Terra pick yet again for emilZy, he heavily prefers his goddess.
Yeah, Terra still with the old ultimate, so she's still going to have that global presence here today. Dignitas with the option for themselves now. We've seen a lot of Geb. Last time we saw Dig, they drafted the same 4 gods, and every time it's going to be a little bit different here, but the Sobek more than likely to deal with this Camazotz.
It's a very safe pick, honestly, in the solo lane matchup here. maniaKK against Variety. I'm expecting it to be a slugfest. A lot of sustain on Camazotz, but then a lot of protections for the Sobek, and a little bit of sustain to boot.
On her taken away by Dignitas. Don't want to give that to emilitoo, who, to be fair, like as we've been saying consistently, has been playing more mages than hunters so far. NRG going to take away the Odin. Obviously, Thoth, Terra, and Camazotz do not have the greatest of times against Odin's ring.
That's very true. It would have to force somebody into a Phantom, which is not ideal when there's so many sprints and shells of the world that you want to go. And knowing NRG, the way they play, that Belt of Frenzy could be huge for them.
Interesting to see where NRG go for their jungler now, because Camazotz we expect to be in the solo lane. Terra could also solo lane, but not ones we've really seen recently. So we'll see where the jungler is. Ares for Trixtank here today. Interesting to see how this one works out. Ares in the early game, totally very low pressure.
That's true, but it's all about the cripple and how you maintain the composition from NRG. Without the dash for emilZy's Terra, he can't set up that combination where he's looking to crush down the monolith, crush down some of his walls, and also shutting down Thoth to prevent him from dashing away.
Well, the rise of some of the Hunter item changes have probably given way for why we're seeing more Rama now. The likes of Iqval getting buffs means that Rama and his auto attacks can be a little bit more impactful, and less people starting to pick up Thorns these days too means crit could be back on the table.
It's definitely a possibility here as Dignitas are wrapping up the remainder of their draft. Really looking for a physical hunter here, and it's going to be the Hachiman. Great range, good all-around character between all 3 stages of the game.
Solid teams for each here. No one's really, I don't think anyone's really got a huge advantage. Ares versus Terra is definitely going to be an interesting one, totally. Where's your money on here?
I actually would prefer Dignitas' composition here with the Sobek Ares frontline, the bolster defenses, and then you got the mobility from Janus. I think that Arkkyl on the Hachiman is going to be super safe. Zyrhoes on Janus is going to be super safe. So who does NRG try to focus in the early game?
It's going to be the Ares. I think it's going to be how well Trixtank plays this game from my point of view. If the Ares goes well, we'll be okay. If it's not, NRG could be the ones in control. It's not up to us, though. The casters will be standing by to bring you this game.
Thanks a lot, boys. It's not up to us either, though. It's up to the folks on the field. Tom Battinger and Ryan Bailey bringing you the business right now. NRG versus Dignitas have already faced each other. Yep. And it was a great set to watch, but there was a victor.
And it was Team Dignitas who actually ended up falling and losing their perfect record against this NRG squad. And I really feel like NRG is playing like the best team in the world right now. Now, they had their first loss. That was to open the season against Rival. They've been undefeated since then, but going back-to-back against Dignitas, that's a tough task.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure if Lightning is going to strike twice. If you are, let us know in the Mixer chat and let us know that you think Dig's going to win. Or if you're on the other side, let us know that you think NRG is going to take it home. I've been kind of playing devil's advocate for a while. I've got a lot of faith in this Dignitas team, and I really think that they can bring this one back, especially since we just saw them against NRG. I think they can turn things up a little bit here. Getting into game number 1, NRG going to group up as 5 on the left-hand side. Dignitas a little spread out among this this first tower line across the map.
But the thing about Dignitas versus NRG in my mind, though, it isn't that NRG did anything special or weird or caught Dignitas off guard in their set. I just feel like NRG specifically adapting is playing at a higher level than everybody else.
Right.
It really does come down to adapting for me. And if he's going to be the guy, if Dignitas can shut him down, if QvoFred can outplay adapting, I think Dignitas wins this set fairly easily. But I just don't see that happening, to be honest with you. I feel like Canada's playing his best Smite that he has since Season 2, and you could getting close. I mean, it's still early for me to say he's playing better than he ever has.
Sure.
But if this continues, I think that you can absolutely say that. He's been playing it out of his mind.
I'm with you, and there have been a number of players here in Season 5 that have really stepped it up versus their previous selves, and whatever the reason may be, Zyrhoes isn't one of them. Last year, Zyrhoes was considered, in my mind, one of the best, if not the best player on Planet Smite. And here in Season 5, I haven't seen that. If Zyrhoes steps up and becomes that transcendent player he was in Season 4 aggro, I think he has the same level of caritude that adapting can bring to this squad. And if Zyrhoes is the guy, like you said about adapting, this Dignitas lineup winds up with the win.
I agree with you. Zyrhoes has looked very good, but hasn't been the dominant player on the map. And I think that really does, in large part, come down to just meta dependence, in that Assassins are the guys right now for every team. Assassins are dictating the way the game is played, specifically the ones in the jungle, though even in solo we've seen some serious assassin play there between the Camazotz and the Naja. I really feel like Zyrhoes has done pretty well for himself so far here in Season 5. It's just that when you get blink one-shot by adapting or by Ice Baby, it can be difficult to be the dude who's being the hard carry.
Right, and a lot of what we've seen is NRG is going to be the crowd favorite tonight, 60-40. What we've seen out of Team Dignitas' mid laner has been, and Hinduman's done a great job of bringing attention to the fact that he's much more farm-centric. He's buying these Warlock staves, and he's kind of staying in lane forever and ever and ever. And here, we might see a switch. He could rush the Chronos Pendant if he chooses, but the idea that he's staying in lane for a long time is still the truth.
Adapting in the enemy jungle, still trying to play aggressive, has a slight XP advantage over QvoFred, and I agree with you. Zyrhoes has been pretty farm-centric so far, but I feel like that's one of his strengths as a player, is how well he farms, and
Sure.
I don't think that playing to that is a negative for him whatsoever. Some people might want to see him be a little bit more aggressive, and on certain picks, I can understand that, but you know, the Discordia that he plays a lot of so far here in Season 5, that lends itself to being a little bit more passive in the early game and being the counter initiator until you can be that big playmaker in the later stages. Now, what is he going to go for on this Janus, where it can be that bigger, you know, early game impact? Once he hits level 5, finishes off the Chronos Pendant, that's the time to see Zyrhoes start to move around the map and make his impact elsewhere.
Absolutely. Playstyle change has to come with a new meta, new map, etc. And as we watch Zyrhoes kind of, I think, left side, emilZy going to be in trouble, and cut off my conversation because it's Trixtank that's going to go down. NRG Esports was losing the lane. 3 waves of archers on their tower, but they turned that one coming around aggro and get first blood.
And it's all because of the beads from emilZy. Trixtank chains emilZy thinking that he can't detonate the wall anymore, can't bring that big slow, and then they've got him dead to rights. But then emilZy pops the beads to get access to that dash, and then is able to put the damage on a Trixtank in response there. Great turnaround by NRG's duo lane.
emilZy forced into the beads because of the Ares, and even still, we usually see the Guardians forgo the purification, but I think it's specifically because emilZy's playing the Terra that he buys into the beads.
I mean, Terra loses so much of her utility as soon as she gets crippled out, because the 3, when it's just standing there as the monolith, not exactly the supportability you're looking for. It brings some healing, but it's not great burst healing. It takes a lot of time for that to come through. You really need to be able to shatter that monolith, and you can't do so without your dash. So you're right, emilZy, if he's other Guardians, probably doesn't pick up the beads here, but that plus the fact that he doesn't have a CC immune ultimate means that his kit would have been shut down pretty heavily by this Ares.
And to that mark, maniaK's going to get taunted in and zigzagged on. No ultimate available, so he won't be able to jump, but the dash is good enough along with the sprint. So Team Dignitas do get a little win there for the Relic. And going back to the play that emilitoo and emilZy had, if you burn your beads and don't get that kill, that really feels bad, because beads is on how many chains can you fit in a beads cooldown window, right? So if you're going to use it, you better get a big impact for it. First blood, I think that's absolutely fitting.
Absolutely, and it does feel a little bit bad, but I mean, emilZy has about a minute left on those purification beads. Now the big thing is chains are good, but Trix really wants to get that ultimate off in the next minute, so he's going to have to really dedicate himself to finding that little bit of extra farm. Unfortunately for him, both buffs on the left-hand side still on respawn for a little bit longer.
So not going to be able to find the level 5 just yet.
Arkkyl also used the purification beads in that little engagement, so keep an eye on him. Even though emilZys are going to be up a little bit sooner, Arkyl's got to be worried just because of the CC chain potential from emilZy.
emilitoo playing very safe there, using the rollback. Trixtank with the Ares selection, love this choice. I think it's a very smart choice, specifically against emilZy, but also does work well against Yammyn and emilitoo, and also just fits his play style. You're going to hear me talk a lot about understanding, feeling, and fitting into your own play style. I think that, to a certain extent, is more valuable than following the direct meta right now here in Season 5 as the game is. So Trixtank, always been aggressive, been a warrior player. Ares is a warrior guardian from my standpoint.
Picks up pen boots as well to really lend himself more to that identity. But I agree with you. Not only is Ares the right pick in the situation because of the gods in the enemy team, both Yammyn and emilZy rely on dashes that can get crippled out and don't have CC immune ultimates. emilitoo has a dash there, roll that is going to get crippled even though he does have the CC immune ultimate. It's a great pick against what NRG is selected, but as you mentioned, it just fits exactly what Trixtank wants to do. And there's plenty of CC to be had among the rest of the team that he's not too worried about the lack of CC, hard CC that Ares can bring his setup. Zyrhoes doesn't really need setup on the Janus to do his damage consistently. QvoFred can CC for you. Variety will bring plenty of CC to your late game team fights. So Ares, that one weakness that Ares typically lacks is covered by the rest of Dig's composition.
The equation is balanced, as I like to say. maniaKK gonna get ulted here. Will jump away. The protections are good, but ooh, that's a big tower dive. Pop, pop. Variety takes the kill, almost ensured to go the way of Serqet, but Variety will pick that one up. Nice dodging to avoid the nonsense out of adapting as well. So Team Dignitas answers back to what NRG brought on the left with a kill of their own on the right.
Adapting just couldn't quite get there in time, and even if he had gotten there in time, Zyrhoes fired off the ultimate, not to secure a kill, but to make sure that Variety and QvoFred had an escape plan if necessary. I love that idea. Now, it does feel unfortunate that he was just before he finished off that Mage's Blessing, so he didn't get that 10% CDR factored in. If you get CDR after you fire off your ultimate, it's not going to count towards that. It has to be there when you fire it. So you won't get that 10% CDR, so it'll take a little bit longer for through space of time to come up, but still worth the investment of making sure that you don't get return killed.
So Zyrhoes here makes his first play for Team Dignitas. Like I said, a lot of eyes on Zyrhoes. I think QvoFred's been doing what he's supposed to do here in Season 5. And I mentioned this in my video. You identify... Dignitas always fall back on that individual skill. And that was enough for them to win throughout Season 4 because all 5 members were working. Like I said, I haven't seen that from Zyrhoes just yet, but I'm not too concerned. I think Dignitas is still a squad that can absolutely dance with the top of them.
And when I say I think NRG is the best team in the world right now and they're playing at the highest level, that I don't mean that to be disrespectful at all towards Dignitas because they are right there, man.
Oh, yeah.
And despite my opinion on how well NRG has been playing, I could easily see them losing to Dignitas here because of how well Dignitas plays when they're at their best. I just think that they aren't quite at their best yet. They're still figuring out what they want to do in this meta, and every team is, but Dignitas's ceiling is just as high as anybody else's, if not higher.
You're getting a lot of the very, very, very close matchups here. I mean, you look at North America, the difference between Space Station Gaming and Counter Logic Gaming. I mean, you need a neutron microscope to understand that one, right? And I think the same is said to be over here in Europe when you look at the top teams. NRG, Team Dignitas, Obey Alliance, these guys, and Rival. All four of them can mix and match with each other. Obey, I think, is a little bit behind the other three.
Yeah.
But looking at the top, I mean, those three teams, NRG, Dig, and Rival specifically, can really just any given Sunday.
Exactly. I think that's the big thing, though, is that none of those teams are really better than anyone else. I think that they all play fairly similar strategies, and it's not really even strategy dependent for any of these guys. It really feels like just whoever's having their best day that day is going to end up finding that victory, and whoever just makes the fewest mistakes, and it's kind of a trope that gets played out a little bit too much, but it really is just, if you're on that day and Yammyn's hot, hitting every skill shot, NRG's probably going to win.
The problem,
Qvo's in the right spots and hitting all his stuff, it's Dignitas who's probably going to win. These teams are that close.
The problem for everybody but NRG is that adapting has seemed, I think he had one poor game. One poor game is what's coming to mind. Everything else, this guy's like 9-1-6 with 20,000 damage.
Dude, his KDA is just skyrocketed above everybody else. Everyone's
silly.
like 9 point something, and that's ridiculously high in its own right. And then Adapting's is above 20.
Literally,
it's a joke how much higher his KDA is than everybody else is in the league. It's just preposterous.
I mean, you and I were looking at stats. We didn't believe it at first. I mean, that's how
it looked fake. It really did.
That's how much of an outlier Adapting has been, and I'm right there with you on the train. Not quite at the stop yet, but on the train to Adapting is playing better here than he ever has before. He is really bringing out all the stops right now, and I think we should start to see some of that in this game very, very soon. Middle lane, a little bit of action. emilZy going to get portaled and chained up, but no, Trixtank does use the ultimate, so that will chase out nothing, just an ult.
Yeah, emilZy never even used the purification beads, and I was about to say that I really felt like this was the time for Dignitas to start playing a little bit more aggressive, because Yammyn's going for the Warlock staff in the mid lane. That takes a little bit of time to become valuable. It needs those stacks in order to do so. Zyrhoes going for the Chronos Pendant is going to power spike him very hard, very quickly. So that would have been an opportunity for Dignitas to be at the advantage in the mid lane power level. But with Trixtank using that ultimate, it slows it down a little bit, though Zyrhoes still hasn't backed. I still feel like when both Yammyn and Zyrhoes back and finish off their second items, Dignitas is going to be in the lead, and I'd like to see them try and play aggressive around that mid lane, maybe around the Gold Fury as well.
Couple of more minutes and we should see that sort of stuff come to fruition. Zyrhoes certainly leading, as we were talking about him being very farm-centric. Well, he's found himself about 3/4 of a level up against Yammyn, a little bit more than a half, and right now he'll go ahead and finish that Chronos Pendant.
And we're already seeing an adjustment to how these teams want to play the map. At level 1, both hunters started in mid and let the supports just solo that first wave by staring at it, basically, and letting the minions clear it for them. Very similar to Season 4. And very similar to Season 4, the hunters have been left alone for the majority of this game. The one first blood, I mean, the early game, the dual lane was together, but now the hunters have been left alone entirely, and as a result, their levels incredibly similar to that of the mid laners, where for the majority of Season 5, mids have been getting solo farm, they've been way ahead, been able to make these plays, already trying to turn it around.
Here, a little bit of aggression coming out from NRG. Early critical strike from Arkkyl. I bring this up because it's before we see second relics coming out. Usually we see hunters kind of wait to build a crit until they see who's bought thorns.
Yeah, Arkkyl going for a pretty interesting build here, and Arkyl's always been one to experiment a little bit with the hunter builds, and I can always appreciate that. Probably going to be an early Poison Star just because of how cheap it is. Wind Demon a little bit too expensive to find as your third item. But if emilitoo goes for that Ichaival that a lot of hunters are starting to pick up once more, I really feel like that's going to favor the ROM very, very heavily, because the Ichaival is so cheap, only 1,700 gold, gives you plenty of stats, and of course that drain that is going to help emilitoo take the boxing victory over Arkkyl, if that is going to be a Poison Star. Now, on the other hand, if Arkkyl rolls well, gets a crit or two, that's reducing the damage that Emil is putting out on top of it. So it's one of those, addition by subtraction, but both are being added and subtracted, so I'm not going to try and do the math right here in front of you, but it probably could be pretty close.
And it's interesting because Hachiman is one of the few characters that actually will box against the Ram. I mean, Ram wins almost every fight, and Hachiman is one of the exceptions because of the banner.
Banner gives you that attack speed and damage, whereas emilitoo's attack speed steroid is just attack speed. No damage attached to it. Now, Emil, again, with increased attack speed with those astral arrows, might be enough, but there's a reason that Hachiman has been so heavily prioritized by every team in every region. He just does it all for you in the hunter role. He's safe, can poke, can play passive, can play aggressive, and he's great in the late game.
I do like the Ram pick because the early game for hunters just doesn't exist anymore, and I feel like early game they don't do anything. Mid game they sort of come online and you see the impact that the Anhurs and the Medusas make, right? But late game, I want my Ram hitting for a zillion, right? Or I want my hunter hitting for a zillion, and Ram is the definition of one of these late game hunters, entirely built around the ability to just dish out the basics.
I also love this Ram ult against the composition from Team Dignitas because they've got a lot of characters that are very hard to lock down and will usually get away with very low HP bars. Serqet can wiggle her way out of just about any situation. Janus is going to portal through the wall and keep himself safe, but escape with low HP. Well, Ram can snipe out those characters and find the long-range shots to confirm some of the kills that might slip through NRG's fingers.
Under the tower comes the pluck, but just the old solo lane pillow fight. Nothing new here. Watching these guys battle it out back and forth, but Team Dignitas, very, very quiet game from both teams. Just 2 kills, 1 each. And Team Dignitas have amassed about a 1,500 gold lead. Something to speak about because of the lack of objectives.
And the experience difference is actually just as relevant, if not more, nearing 3,000 in that experience department. I believe Zyrhoes has about a level lead right now in the mid lane over Yammyn. Trixtank, despite falling for first blood, a slight lead over EmilZy. Just about everybody has a level lead on their opposition. And like I mentioned, that I really felt like that because of that and the various items that they were going for. That was time to play aggressive, but aggression on the Zyrhoes in the mid lane.
Oh, the stun!
Forced out his beads, but the stun is perfect from EmilZy. Quick kill there. And that's just where you can't be as a Janus, sitting dead center of the wave, no wall to get to quickly.
Yeah, I got to be standing there. So a rare positional mistake coming out from Zyrhoes earns him his first death of the game. 2 kills for NRG so far. With that, I don't think the window quite open for a Gold Fury. Still a lot of Team Dignitas presence on the map. EmilZy, however, feels differently. Him and his team will head towards the objective. Ares coming right, Hachiman coming left. Not a lot of damage done so far. Oh, well, now down to 40. Got to make their move as Team Dignitas if they want to steal it. Coming here is going to be NRG.
No!
But look, it's a big pull coming out from Ares. A ton of players will immune it, but Yammyn gets taken care of. Emil also can't get taken to the sky. 2 kills for Team Dignitas after the gold.
A 2 for 0 in Dignitas' favor, but NRG secured the objective. maniaKK here, but a little bit late. No last breath available for QvoFred with the Thorns. That means that no more hits on a maniaKK will come from the assassin. Yammyn's positioning has felt very strange to me there. He's putting it, he knows he's dead in that situation. His job is to secure the Gold Fury with his ultimate, but he never even fires it. And he's standing there charging it up with his back towards the mid lane where he can get hit very easily instead of standing closer to emilitoo where he can create some distance between him and the objective and make it harder for it to be stolen away. I mean, NRG got it, but it was really close.
EmilZy being zoned out of the Pyromancer here. Sets himself up for the steal. maniaKK jumps over the top, but I think that one confirmed by Zyrhoes. Looks like it. Team Dignitas pick up the consolation prize. Jump over the wall, hit the gas. And NRG will not be able to punish the black and yellow. So Team Dignitas lose the Gold Fury, but they pick up 2 kills, a tier 1 tower, and a Pyromancer. Aggro, math in Dig's favor.
Absolutely, without a doubt. You can see the spike there on the gold chart and then immediately down further away from NRG than it was before that engagement. And that's one of those situations where you got to have the quick call there. It looked like NRG was willing to commit, but still just ended up being a little bit sloppy. And that's one of those things that with new members, support players are usually very involved in objective calls and what's going to happen around those objective calls, who's going to be executing it, who's tanking, all that kind of stuff. Zoning, secure, all that has to be discussed in a matter of moments, or one moment really, if you want to be able to secure that cleanly. That's why teams that have been together for so long do usually do objectives very well, because they don't need to say it. They just know what everyone's job is. And NRG there, I mean, it was a quick commit to the call, but the execution still felt a little off.
When you look at this team, how is their objective killing prowess? Dignitas looking for the red buff. So we'll hold our conversation for the moment. I mean, the Camazotz, not exactly a Mercury on the objectives, right? I mean, this isn't a burning comp.
I mean, Ram does burn objectives very well, but just because of the attack speed steroid that he has is so strong. QvoFred lurking, still has that blink available, and with the ultimate, decides not to go in, even with Trixtank there to help him out. And ML's pretty far behind now, sitting 2 levels down to Arkkyl. I feel like that would have been a nice time to try and play aggressive. But going back to it, I mean, Thoth burns objectives well, and keep in mind that glyph of pain that he can set up in front of the Gold Fury will increase the damage that emilitoo's autos are doing, and he's throwing out plenty with that pick-me-up attack speed steroid. NRG does comps pretty well, and they've also got excellent zoning between the Terra and the Bellona.
I find the Shakira is really strong, but I was the burn I was questioning. And again, I mean, I had said it. I did not think that window was wide enough to look for the Gold Fury. And I guess technically it was, but not a clean look. And so NRG commit to it. And I like the fact that they do commit, because it's even worse if they peel, lose the fight, and lose the Gold Fury.
Oh, yeah.
So I do commend them for committing. Shout out to maniaK's minions there for absorbing the taunt, but the ultimate will hit. He should be fine here.
And even the ultimate from Zyrhoes. Now, Zyrhoes has plenty of CDR at this point, so it's not as big of a deal, but maniaKK had to use the sprint, and that's all that Qvo was looking for. I don't think he had any delusions that was going to be a kill in Dignitas' favor. It's just trying to trade out relic for relic, but also his own ultimate. Blink, kind of more important, I think, to QvoFred and how he's going to operate in the next 2 minutes than maniaKK sprint.
I think it was a well-timed push. I think that QvoFred was looking for the push out and then the invade on the blue buff, but NRG responded really, really well and just put players in front of that area. QvoFred can't hang out and wait for the respawn, so he leaves, and although it's up now, that window is closed. He can't come and invade by himself again like he just did.
Check out that Gem of Isolation, 3rd item for Trixtank. Something that you see in your troll arena games from your Ares, not necessarily the highest level of the SPL, but does give 250 health, gives a little bit of CCR as well, and that's certainly relevant against NRG's composition. The power, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but for Ares with the extra 30 power from the aura from Gauntlet of Thebes, the boots that are pen boots, and now the Gem of Isolation, Trixtank's going to be doing some serious damage. Now, is he going to survive in time to do that damage? Is the real question. This build does not lend itself to the 4v4s and the 5v5s, but things like this, it works pretty well, going for the 1v1 plays and chasing out relics from Yammyn.
I really like this. I think it's identifying what the character brings. emilZy going to get locked up by QvoFred, no stun there. You have to, you itemize Janus with a cooldown reduction because you know he brings all that utility. You itemize Nuwa with a ton of power because she's going to slam late, right? When you're playing these I'm going to call him a warrior support. When you're playing Ares, it's important to realize that he's not Khepri. And if you're not bringing any damage, you're not bringing hard CC either. So got to bring something that the character enjoys. Team Dignitas looking at the Gold Fury, or at least positioning around it. NRG will grab it one more time.
Arkkyl poked out, as was QvoFred, by their equal oppositions, Emil and Adapting, so that's why NRG feels confident enough. This is absolutely a bait. They're only going to take this Gold Fury if Dignitas doesn't respond in time, but with that Janus ultimate, I doubt that we'll see no response at all. Yeah,
this is a really slow roll on the Gold Fury. emilZy wanting to sort of reprise what we just did, but in the other direction. Leashing out the objective. Dignitas now chasing, but maniaKK all the way deep. Here comes Riding on the other side, and Dig snatch it away like the bandits they are. That one's gonna go the way of Team Dignitas, and the fight after the fact, emilZy starts off taking care of the Hunter. Looks like trouble for QvoFred, escaping on the right-hand side. Trixtank in trouble as well. 3 shots from the mid lane, and Trixtank gonna fall down. maniaKK puts number 4 up for NRG.
So apparently somewhere in the contract for Gold Fury, it's that you can get it, but you lose 2 members in response. That's the deal. And Dignitas that time stole it away with a beautifully timed ultimate from Zyrhoes. But again, Arkkyl was too poked out at the beginning of that fight, and that all-in commit onto him by maniaKK and the rest of NRG was really, really strong. And just like it was for Dignitas in the last engagement, when you get gold, but lose 2 and a Pyromancer after that, it favors the other side.
Yes, but it's closer this time. So Pyromancer, 1, there isn't a tier 1 tower involved.
True.
It's just a Pyromancer. which is smaller, right? The Gold, and also Gold Fury is worth a lot more now than it was the first time we saw them take it.
Good point.
So when you get that early gold and trade out too, versus when you steal that late gold and trade out too, Dignitas still, I think that winds up in Dig's favor.
Well, after the tier 1 tower goes down for Dignitas, because NRG backs in mass and they can't be there to defend, I think I'd agree with you. I still think that if the tier 1 tower doesn't fall,
right,
I'd favor NRG, but losing map pressure again, I mean, Dignitas has already taken all 3 tier 1 towers off the map. NRG has barely done any damage to any of them. And so in that situation, I do think that it's Dignitas who ends up on top.
Taking a different, looking at the lead in a different lens, however, don't forget, each tier 1 tower is 500 gold. So you're looking at a 1,500 gold lead that Dignitas gets via towers that NRG have yet to really cash. All those towers are kind of like bonds that are left there, and you get to cash them. Dignitas already did that. So NRG do have 1,500 gold on the board that Dignitas just flat out don't.
But you don't get to cash those in whenever you want. You got to earn the ability to cash them in, and NRG just hasn't been able to do that quite yet. It's going to keep getting harder because now Trixtank is a little bit tankier and a little bit more survivable with that winged blade pickup. Not a ton of slows on the side of NRG. I mean, you're looking at emilZy's 3-1 combo. Emil's got the slow on the Astral Arrow, a little bit from adapting as well in maniaKK. So the slow's certainly there and worth picking up for that, but it's also just trying to get some effective health to stack on top of that he already has from the Thieves, the Gem of Isolation, and now that Winged Blade. And keep in mind, Ares can kind of go more health-oriented and less protections because he has that second ability, Bolster Defenses, that gives him a ton of both protections whenever he uses it.
So really, really big point. Blink over the wall. Zigzag is good. Now the Thorns are online, but how much do they care? maniaKK gonna die to the tick. The poison will not spread. Ares grabs one. It's going to be emilZy. Avoids the damage from the mid lane Janus. However, now he's a little bit surrounded. Ooh. Pluck missed. And Variety will drop that kill for Team Dignitas. It looks like they want to retreat now.
Adapting here. Yammyn still has that ultimate available, but Dignitas is still fairly healthy. Great communication there from Dignitas. The blink over the wall. QvoFred is waiting for maniaKK to land, but then he tosses him straight into the wall where Zyrhoes is firing off that through space and time. It took a lot of investment to make sure that maniaKK died, but that could end up being worth it. Now, Dignitas not getting anything else on the back end for now, but as long as they don't get engaged on while these ultimates are still down, 1 for 0, not too bad.
Zyrhoes playing aggressive, gonna ping emilZy here. Brought down to about 60. Still very healthy. Variety as well, leading the charge. Aggro, I'm seeing more from Zyrhoes in this game, and thus I'm seeing more from Team Dignitas.
They've looked really good, and NRG is kind of playing one of their many play styles, the many faces of NRG in the ways they like to play the game, where sometimes they'll play the all-out aggressors in the early game and just beat you down within the first 15 minutes and you never feel like you had a shot. And other times they'll play it slow. They'll take their foot off the gas and they'll just wait and wait and wait. Then they out-team fight you in one team fight, and then you lose off of it. And NRG does that, has made a career off of doing that to enemy teams. Now, the problem is, when you're doing that against, you know, the SK Gamings of the world, you're good because you know that you're going to be able to out-team fight them even with a lead. Dignitas, I'm not sure that you can say that. Dig is one of the best teams in the world right now, and I don't know that I love the passive play against them. I think that NRG plays best when they are on the aggressive. I think that all teams almost play best when they're on the aggressive, and I think I would have preferred to see that from them.
There is something we said about the mid lane and Hunter selections of Rama and Thoth.
It's true.
These characters are going to be really strong when they do decide to fight in the late game. Plug up from Variety, and it looks like Team Dignitas playing this one safe, not ready to commit. NRG, on the other hand, didn't get the memo. They're going all the way in. Variety escaping on the back line. Trixtank, one more shot will do it. emilitoo takes to the sky. One shot, two shot, all three miss.
The blink was good there from Trixtank and hiding underneath that wall. A little bit harder now in Season 5. Plenty of extra geometry you got to worry about shooting over and trying to find people behind.
But forcing players back, give NRG the map presence that they desired. Now, sitting pretty around the Fire Giant, everybody relatively healthy. Adapting still has his ultimate left, but nobody else. And because of the lack of blue diamonds at the left side of the screen, I think that's why we're going to see the Pyro instead of the big guy.
But everyone from Dignitas is back and pretty healthy. Now, no beads here for Arkkyl, but no beads for Adapting either.
emilZy is consistently the target that Dignitas are looking for. Through space and time, he's going to clip the Hunter on the back end. emilitoo's got to roll out. emilZy relatively low as well. Last time the Guardian got away. Zyrhoes still can't find the hit. maniaKK taking damage. maniaKK not going to get pulled. Neither will Yammyn. But Variety chases emilZy all the way to the end of the earth. Lurking in the waters. Lurking in the backline. Down goes one, but Variety gets punished. It's a 2-for-1 and Dig on the retreat.
But they still have enough health bars here. They might want to pull this Pyromancer. Zyrhoes trying to put some poke damage onto Adapting, but Adapting also very healthy and still has that Mag-Eyes cloak, so it's going to be difficult to lock him down. Looks like Dignitas might wait it out a little bit and back to base, heal up, and then go for something like the Gold Fury, but by that time, emilZy will probably be up. Great engagement there by NRG right off the bat, where Variety and Trixtank go a little bit too deep, and so they're the ones that ended up pushing forward. But it was just unfortunate timing. The Pyromancer, they know it's coming up. They know it's about to be up. But no one is, everyone's coming back and everyone is healthy. And by that time, the NRG hasn't backed, they haven't healed up. And so even with their ultimates available, it's Dignitas who just has the lead in HP bars. And a lot of that comes down to there were multiple opportunities where Yammyn had chances to poke out Arkkyl and Zyrhoes right around where Arkkyl is standing right now above the Fire Giant. But no ward coverage there meant that he couldn't be accurate. If he hits those shots, NRG gets that Pyromancer without a question. That's where that ward coverage comes into play.
Ooh, Pyro. Oh, I thought it was stolen by Adapting for a second. Team Dignitas just do it right in NRG's faces. It's going to push their lead up to 7,300. The experience right now, very relevant at 11-4. emilZy chained up, but you can tell Dignitas don't want to go too deep into this one with the flanks coming from the left-hand side.
But look at the damage that Trixtank just did by himself onto emilZy. And he was slowed, and he was crippled during that time. So the build for Trixtank already starting to work out.
Like I said, I love it. Ares assists by lowering the kill threshold for his carries. Friday takes a little bit of poke.
This is scary stuff for NRG right now because Trix has Blink ultimate available. Yammyn, emilZy, none of them have beads right now.
And none of them have built into the Magi's blessing either. Adapting, well, he's got both. Everybody else kind of up a creek without a paddle if Trix decides to get wet.
And this is where I'd like to see Dignitas get ward coverage, ward vision, total vision control of Fire Giant, and just pull it and let Trix be the guy who's just scaring everybody away. They've
tried to do that, but there's a number of NRG sentry wards around here that Adapting has really been vigilant about taking care of the vision put out by Team Dignitas. Fire Giant has been started half HP. Adapting going to flank around from the left-hand side. Arkkyl sees him, pokes him out. Now everybody off of the Fire Giant looking for the Batman. He's going to walk away. But this is already bot time. Yammyn's beads are up and Emils are about to be up as well. There's the ultimate from emilZy. Bell rings and we're going to see the fight. Yammyn's going to find a stun, but there's the pull from Trixtank. All the beads are up a little bit too late. And the shot from Yammyn is good. And it looks like NRG have won the team fight without a kill. Man, I love that play from Zyrhoes. Fires off the through space and time, and it makes Trix come through the portal whether he wanted to or not. And it was right in time because Final Judgment was coming screaming right for him out of Yammyn. But that's what I'm saying, Tom. I mean, that's where ward vision becomes really, really relevant. I just talked about how NRG didn't have it on the top side, and that's why Yammyn couldn't poke out his opposition. Their NRG did have it in the spots where they needed it, and so Dignitas couldn't bluff the attack from Trixtank while the carries were doing Fire Giant. You either have to let Variety be the guy in front. Trix a couple times there was just about to blink and then gets hit by abilities. You can't be that close. You got to let Variety be the dude who's absorbing those cooldowns and then let you, the Ares, blink in behind him. Makes sense. Secondary front line here. Dignitas starting the objective one more time. This one's going to work. maniaKK rallies over there, but he's likely to fall thanks to the true damage, and QvoFred is the truth. Adapting takes to the sky, and well, he's gonna barely escape. QvoFred zigzags. QvoFred finds the Thoth. Oh, with the last bit of it. And QvoFred with the doubleune. Walk it like he talk it. Arkkyl finishes things off. Team Dignitas, 3 players down. Look for the fire. Unreal play from QvoFred there. That play is the QvoFred masterpiece. He finds the pick on a maniaKK, set up by Variety again, who's just been an absolute terror on this Sobek. Then Qvo delivers maniaKK, says, here you go, boys. You can do a little bit of extra damage. I'll get the kill anyways. But then uses the portals from Zyrhoes, where even though Zyrhoes hasn't necessarily been doing the most damage so far this game, his portal utility has been absolutely S tier. That gets Qvo into the backline, and then that madness to take one person out of the way and then use the second shot to find the kill.
sick. Just absolutely sick.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff from QvoFred right there. That opens the team fight, the Fire Giant, and the Phoenix here in the mid lane. Team Dignitas don't get greedy. They'll head back. Drive-by Gold Fury most likely. Depends on if NRG are going to be on the chase.
There's no way they can even get there in time. There's plenty of damage from this Hachiman on Arkkyl, especially with that crit build. He's getting really consistent with those, and even with the Thorns and the Nemean Lion from maniaKK, it's not that big of a deal because Qvo is taking care of maniaKK almost by himself. Let Qvo combo him and Zyrhoes Unstable Vortex that spreads out the Thorns damage, and then he's just dead anyways, and then Arkyl's free to throw out those crits all he wants. Now, on the other side, I love this Spectral Armor pickup from EmilZy. Remember, Spectral Armor got a change coming into Season 5, now reduces the crit damage that you receive, basically Geb passive on a stick, and it works very well here, but Arkkyl still can chunk down Yammyn, chunk down Adapting, chunk down emilitoo, and make the plays necessary whenever it's needed.
And just a follow-up point on maniaKK, also, Trixtank sharing the Thorns damage as well. Trixtank is relevant damage. I mean, he's doing 11,000. That's as much as emilitoo. I think that says more about, well, no, both hunters there. So yeah, Trixtank bringing hunter damage right now.
Impressive, but the one that stands out to me, Adapting on that Camazotz. Again, near the bottom, and this is something that we've seen from him before with the Camazotz pick in particular, where it just feels like he can't get in and do that relevant damage. I just feel like Camazotz doesn't always lend itself to being the most aggressive pick in the jungle. You're kind of looking for poke, and if the enemy isn't putting themselves in position to get poked, then it's not going to be super good for you. I love the Thor, I love the Susano, I love the aggressive picks that Adapting brings, and his Camazotz has looked very good so far in Season 5. I'm not upset about the pick, but I think already, regardless of the outcome of this game, I want to see him on something different. Yeah,
I mean, that thing has been the pacemaker for NRG. That's how they win. They play the game. They play their own game, and right now, Dignitas has forced them to play their own game. Pulled in is EmilZy. Not going to be a big deal. Could be troublesome for Trixtank, actually, as EmilZy turns around and finds number 6 for NRG. Now on the back line, QvoFred dealing damage, Zyrhoes assists, and down goes Emil. He's going to help out, and still unable to penetrate the left side. Phoenix. Zyrhoes goes ahead and picks up 2. That's 2 down, and the Phoenix is going to fall as well. Team Dignitas barreling forward, looking fantastic. Ryan, this could be it.
11 kills so far for Dignitas, and I'm not sure they even need a 12th. They've looked phenomenal all game. They were just in control, even through the slower parts of this game. It was Dignitas who was in the driver's seat. It was their invades and their little wins here and there that put them up to this lead.
Absolutely, and just QvoFred, 4-0-6, and just a devastating part of what has made Team Dignitas here. And you mentioned it as well as we watch the Titan fall here for game number 1. Team Dignitas really relied on that Janus. The portals were great.
Yes.
Zyrhoes stepped up here in game number 1, and I think that's a big part of why Dignitas bring home the W.
I couldn't agree more. It was really impressive from Zyrhoes. The damage was there and the utility, as we mentioned. And QvoFred played out of his mind, and there's no question about that. But for me, if I'm voting for MVP here, I think it's got to be variety. And I feel like the Sobek is the pick that you got to take away, because that was what set up everything Dignitas did. Every late game team fight was variety setup. Off the bat, was consistent with the plucks, the knockups, the disruption, and then he seemed to live every time as well. Sobek out of that solo lane, if you let him be that free in lane and just let him kind of sit there and farm up and get to that late game, it's almost impossible to deal with. If I'm NRG, I'm either picking that Sobek, banning it, or trying to do something better against it.
maniaKK certainly does have a fantastic croc. We'll see if that's where he goes. Game 2 next. But first, let's break down game 1.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. And Aggro as well. 11-6 on the docket. Dignitas take game 1. Already bouncing back after that defeat last week.
And that's really important for them, considering the way that they ended in Season 4. To get redemption here at NRG, also losing last week to them, that just goes to show that Dignitas are not out of it yet. I love the picks that they did with the Ares, and more importantly, I love their item builds.
Yeah, the Ares item builds were very interesting, totally. I mean, we saw Gem of Isolation, no real auras picked up there either. He only got the Gauntlet of Thebes outside of that. that, it was all just survivability damaging.
There's a lot of
options.
utility here
Yeah.
from the Ares with Gem of Isolation, and just, you know, the flames doing a lot of damage, the chains doing a lot of damage. You had a little bit of slow on that, and then you allow your MVP QvoFred to get the kills.
As you hear, MVP QvoFred didn't go over to Variety in that solo lane. He was the instigator, but the executioner in QvoFred. 10 kills involved with here. He was making some big plays, Tolly.
It's not the first or the last time we're going to hear of him making plays,
Yeah.
honestly. It's a jungler's meta, and QvoFred taking in all the benefits. Playing his Serqet, first picked here alongside Zyrhoes' Janus, playing perfectionly. Honestly, the way that they really ran it here against the Thoth that was prioritized from NRG, I really think that Dignitas' composition was better at the end of the day.
And realistically, when you think about this, I'm pretty sure we're just going to have to see Serqet and Raven band away from both Adaption and Qvo. If either of those two get one of those gods, they are very insurmountable in how much pressure they'll put on.
I definitely agree, because we look at Serqet as a ganker potentially versus Camazotz, and Serqet will provide more of a burst damage potential with the potential to waterfall and cascade the teamfight even further if the last breath poison spreads. And we talked about on the cast where Ryan thought that, you know, the Sobek would have been the MVP there, but
Yeah.
Camazotz is not going to gank a solo laner, whereas Serqet certainly can.
Definitely, especially because of the true damage more than anything else. That really allows a way in and a little bit better CC than what a Camazotz will bring. Camazotz will bring a little bit more sustain. So it's going to be tricky.